Prison Break Season 5, Episode 1 Review, breaking down Ogygia '. 20 minutes into the first episode of the much-anticipated Prison Break, Resurrection, familiar face Lincoln Burrows, Dominic Purcell, is taken hostage by high-tech terrorists. They assume command of his car by remote control, driving it off the road and into a nearby lake. Linc is thrown clear, straight through the windshield, and emerges from the whole experience totally unscathed. It's an utterly ludicrous sequence. It's also as sure a sign as any that, oh yes, Prison Break is back. Fox's vintage popcorn thriller was never The Wire. For better or worse, it always had a sense of the absurd about it. The first season was mindless fun, melodrama with its tongue firmly in its cheek, and it set a template that the following seasons strained to follow. Often, later Prison Break was just plain dumb, or just plain dull. Sometimes both. And while the Resurrection opener doesn't hit the heights of the original at its best, nor is it as limp as the series at its worst. Instead, it lands somewhere squarely between. Credit where it's due. Creator Paul Schering and his team have worked hard to replicate what worked about the old show and, from the revamped version of the classic title sequence down, this feels like a natural continuation that could have landed on our screens in 2010. For all the superficial tweaks, the original cast are all more or less as we remember them. Michael Scofield, Wentworth Miller, is still one step ahead, his brother Lincoln is still a brawny lunkin over his head, their allies Sucre, Amaury Nolosco, and C-Note, Rockman Dunbar, are still bringing the laughs and the icy cool respectively, and T-Bag, Robert Nepper, is still a scheming reptile. The chemistry between this ensemble is still palpable, too, and given how incredibly well preserved they all are, the 8-year gap between the final break, and now is almost indiscernible. The plot, such as it is, sees Michael being held in Yemen's most formidable jail, Ogygia, apparently for aiding terrorists, with some very powerful players, and possibly Michael himself, working to conceal his survival. But it's very much a case of new setting, old tricks. A grand conspiracy, enigmatic hitmen, and hitwomen, barmy twists, all the tried and tested Prison Break gimmicks are present and correct. Only one moment feels out of step, too ludicrous even for this circus, and that's T-Bag being gifted a robot hand. It's a leap too far and, rather than skirt over the whole thing before we have a chance to absorb just how dumb it is, the episode, which otherwise rockets along, devotes an unnecessarily large chunk of time to his advanced prosthetic mitt. Otherwise, Resurrection plays things safe, which means it's solid rather than spectacular. No gritty reinvention here, thank you very much. This is Prison Break just as you remember it, with all its old joys and old flaws. It'd be easy to call it unadventurous. But with so many revivals, The X-Files, Heroes Reborn, 24, Legacy, failing to recapture that special something which made the original so compelling, it shouldn't be underestimated how difficult it is to make something like this feel authentic. Relying heavily on nostalgia and affection for the show's old characters and tropes, it's unlikely to convert any new fans. But if you thrilled to Michael and company's wild antics first time round, this is enough of a faithful recreation to satisfy.